12 p.m. Eastern Time, noon. So it's time for a Junkman Nooner. That's right, we do 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday. One at noon and another one at 8. Whew, so much fun. Well, what are we going to look at today? Well, I do a series of videos called Searching for the Worst Action Figure Line. We looked at some pretty bad ones. I mean, we looked at the Waltons action figure line, Revolutionary War action figure line, Hunter Dan action figure line. There's been all kinds of crazy, terrible lines. There was even an action figure line, the New Kids on the Block. And while I'm searching for these worst of action figure lines, I find some smaller lines that are pretty bad, but they don't warrant a full video. It's probably maybe sometimes one figure, sometimes it's 2 to 3, and it just doesn't fit in as a whole action figure line to talk about. So I thought I would take at least 10 of those that I found and do a 10 worst action figure lines ever. So let's take a look. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you about the podcast. Thank you for calling in to the Action Figure Show podcast, the only toy collecting podcast where you get to be heard. What is on your mind tonight, Eric?
Retro series, the kind of Kenner-inspired series. You had a great take because it really is almost like a what-if toy line.
I've acquired like about 130 Black Series. I picked up a few of those, retro collection, Mandalorian stuff. So
action figure line I do collect is I collect the old MASH figures.
They're like, oh, I'm mad because he takes his helmet off. Oh, but Jango Fett took his mask off.
I went to Downtown Disney and I found about 10 or 12 Phoenix Shans.
You cater to the SJWs. You love Kathleen Kennedy. Why don't you just marry her?
This is Smoky Mountain Hillbilly. I'm calling from the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee.
No more do you have to hear everyone else talking about toys. Now you have a voice with the Action Figure Call-In Show podcast. You can find it on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. So take a listen and also call into the show. And now, number 10 on our list of the worst action figure line that doesn't warrant a full video, Diller Doll. You heard me right. Diller Doll. What is Diller Doll? This is Atlantic City Casino Dealer Doll. Now, there's 3 in the line. There was a man or a woman and a Las Vegas edition of a woman dealer. Yep, released in the late 60s. A dealer doll. Who's the market for this? Now, we're talking the late 60s. It wasn't really like you had adult toy collectors. And I don't know any kid that would want a Barbie-sized doll of someone that deals cards at Atlantic City Casino. This is just weird. I don't know if it's bad, but it is weird. Whew, that one's going too far. Okay, how about this one right here at number 9? Man, I would have loved done a whole video on this one, but it's the only one in the series. Sadly, we didn't get more to this line. And it's a doll size also. 12-inch line released in the 80s. Gary. Yeah, just Gary. I don't know who Gary is. I don't know if this is based on someone named Gary or what. But it says Gary, he's a sports star, and it seems he can play every sport there is. Gary, the sports star. Gary, the sports star. And this was the 80s, where the 12-inch line was pretty dead by then. Okay, let's go. Number 8. We're going to go to Mego, a toy company we all know. Now, Mego in the late 60s was getting their foot in the toy door, and like anyone else trying to get into the toy market, they were trying to take away some of those Hasbro G.I. Joe toy sales. So what did they release? Their own G.I. Joe called Fighting Yank. Now, as a Southern man, I don't like saying the word Yank. Reminds me of the damn Yankees. Anyway, Fighting Yank was a line of military 12-inch fake G.I. Joes by Mego. These are horrible. These also might be known as what your grandma would get you when you told her you wanted G.I. Joe figures back in 1968. Grandmas. They always get the generic things, don't they? They always get generic. Here's number 7. We're going to stay in the 60s with this one. This video could have almost been toys of the 60s. I can't believe they made this. I can't believe it. Mamas and the Papas action figures. Let me say that again, because you probably think I stuttered or something, because I do stutter. Mamas and the Papas, the 60s acid band action figures. Now, sadly, these don't come with a push-a-button feature. You know, a button that makes one of them throw up and the other one has sex with their father. That would have been odd, too. But Mamas and the Papas action figure line. Mamas and the Papas. And we're going to stay in the 60s with this at number 5. Super Queens. I know, it sounds like something else, but it's not. It's superhero action figure line, and they're all females. Supergirl, Batgirl, I don't know, whoever else is in the line, they're all Supergirl. Now you're thinking, that's not too bad of a line, but they're just so generic and cheap looking. They're horrible looking. There's only 4 of them, I believe, released, and they're all female superheroes. Released by Ideal. So you see, people were even woke back in 1967. They did a toy line today. Sorry about that bad edit. That was a joke there that I took out. Trust me, you'll be happy that I did. Number 5. I know I said the last one was number 5, but this is actually number 5. Action Dan. The action figure line released in the mid-80s. I couldn't even find what company made this. It was so horrible, nobody even wanted to put their name on it. Action Dan. Another fake G.I. Joe line, I guess. Action Dan. Love the name of it, though, don't you? Action Dan. Speaking of fake G.I. Joe figures, how about this? Released in 1989. Bravo Company. Bravo Company figures. The name alone just screams G.I. Joe ripoff, generic, don't buy it. Released by the company Small World Imports. Never even heard of that either. We have a Bravo Company, the action figure line. Number 3, and this is when a company tried to cash in on some of those He-Man sales in 1984 with their own female He-Man style action figures. But really, they don't look like He-Man, they're just female action figures with really big hips. We have Goddess of Ultra Cosmo. Horrible. Horrible. Look horrible. I don't even know. I don't have nothing to say about it. It's just so stupid. Okay, number 2. This one I was just confused about. I was baffled about. It's only one figure in the line, and it's called the King of Animals. And it's some kind of generic transformer, but looking at this thing, I don't see where it transformed into an animal. And look at the picture on it. It's got some guys down at the bottom. Looks like they should be in Star Blazers. I thought maybe this was some Japanese cartoon I never heard of, so I Googled it and I didn't see anything about it. If I'm wrong, let me know. I don't know what this is. Again, it's called the King of Animals, which I guess could be the lion, isn't the King of Animals? But it doesn't look like it turns into a lion, an animal, or anything. I don't know what the deal with this toy is. It gave me a headache just thinking about it. Whoa! And that's going to leave us with, you guessed it, number 1 right here on the blue card. Right here on the blue card, we got number 1. Are you ready for this one? Released in the mid-80s. In the mid-80s. I only have to say one word to tell you the name of this action figure line. Robert. Yes. Robert. And I really, really want to make a joke here, but I'm not gonna make the joke because I don't want to get canceled. But how about this? Here, I'll show you a picture of Robert and you make your own joke. There. Now you said the joke and I didn't have to, so you can't cancel me, cancel yourself. This is released by a company called Ocean Desert. That right there is that's the only figure I could find they made too was Robert. I don't know who Robert is, but they made a Robert action figure. And there was 2 Roberts in this series. Yep. If one Robert wasn't enough, you could have 2 Roberts. You had regular Robert, or plain Robert, and then you had bathing trunks Robert, in case you want to take him to the swimming hole with you. And that's right, Robin in swim trunks. I prefer the plain Robin because it looks like he's fitting to go to the Regal Beagle. Who wouldn't want to go to the Regal Beagle? Now, as you can see, these lines didn't have enough in them to make a full video, but as you can see, these are some of the worst action figures I've ever seen in my life. I tell you, I might have to buy that Robert and that Gary. Maybe they should go together. Robert. Well, that's a look at 10 of the worst action figure lines that didn't warrant a full video. Check out the series for the other worst of action figure lines and see maybe some of these you're like, hey, these should have their own video, but I understand they just didn't really fit in. I wanted to tell you again, subscribe to the only action figure call-in show podcast. Links to all that will be in the description below, or just go to any podcast app you use and look for it. If you don't see it, let me know and I'll add it. Google is taking their sweet time adding it, so hopefully it'll be there soon. All the other ones take almost instantly or a couple hours to show up, but Google wants to be a... Anyway, that's it, guys. I've got to get out of here. I want to thank you again. Thumb up if you like my content. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.